afternoon and thanks for joining us. The November session of Parliament is on, a session that opened on Tuesday, and it is consecrated mainly for the examination and the adoption of the 2025 budget. And as a reminder of the 2024 budget, Cameroon had a state budget of 7,212.5 billion CFA francs. In this edition of the program, we shall be looking at the impact such a budget has created in this year 2024, as we look into the areas of priority that the 2025 state budget needs to take into consideration. You are watching 360 degrees, and we are beaming live from the capital city, Yaoundé. We shall be right back. You're welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is 360 degrees, and we are always with you every Saturday at 12:30 p.m. And we have an hour of communion with you. Today I have a full house of 5 gentlemen that will be helping us to understand the context in which this November session of Parliament is holding on. I shall begin from my right, where I have Full GODFRED. Full GODFRED is one of the communication officers of the ruling party, the CPDM. The last time you were here is in November. You're welcome again.
Thank you, Mr. Hyncenth. I'm very grateful to be here this afternoon to discuss with every panelist, and I also welcome them. And I believe that all what we are going to say here will go alongside to construct our beauty nation.
For sure. And beside you is Ernest AKOUFOU. He's not a new face. He needs no special introduction. He has been here several times, and is always available to come and share his rich knowledge with us on issues that concerns the country. Ernest AKOUFOU, you're welcome.
The pleasure is shared, Hyncenth, and I want to say hi to viewers out there who are watching Canal de television. And to my co-panelists, I just hope that the topical issue we're going to talk about by the end of the hour, we must have enlivened and enriched the viewers out there.
Thank you so much. And the last person on my right is Dr. TUMENTA Kennedy. He is a senior economist and an investment analyst. Doc, you are welcome.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to be here and to share on this very important topic.
Thank you so much. And by my left, I have DOH BERTRAND. DOH BERTRAND is a journalist, and he doubles as the managing editor of the daily newspaper, The Guardian Post. DOH, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Hyncenth. Thanks for the invite. I think the last time I was on this program was in November last year.
Sure.
So it's close to 12 months, and I'm back.
Thank you for honoring our invitation. And the last but not the least, he is a member of Parliament for Noun Center, militant of the CDU, Cameroon Democratic Union. It is an honor to have in our midst Honorable KOUPIT ADAMOU. You are welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chia. Good morning to my co-panelists. Good morning to all viewers. It's a pleasure for me to be here for my first time. You know, I usually come here in Canal too, but it is my first time to be in your program. I'm happy to be here. I send a special greet to my leaders, Honorable Tomaino Damjoya, who is watching this program.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. You will permit us. Let's take some key reports that will dive us into our discussions of today, reports that the newsroom prepared this week concerning the Parliament particularly.
At the opening ceremony of the November session of Parliament, this November 12, the Speaker of the National House of Assembly, Kavaye Jibril, frowns at the rising urban disorder in Cameroon, calling on the authorities to get to work. He hammers on electricity crisis, green corrupt practices, the unavailability of birth certificates for thousands of Cameroonian children, the numerous disasters plaguing the country, with the latest Chang landslides, with the bodies of some of the victims yet to be dug out, as he calls on the different ministerial departments to take preventive measures.
Mentioning these ideas means that the Assembly is aware that something is not going very perfectly where they thought it should be, and being aware gives hopes that in trying to give out the budget for the year, those rubrics need to be fed.
Ça montre à suffisance le mal qui est profond. Vous voyez qu'on n'arrive pas à évacuer les corps à moins de 24 heures. Ça montre à suffisance la malgestion, ça montre à suffisance l'incompatibilité des membres du gouvernement à pouvoir satisfaire le peuple.
The opposition members of parliament insist that the president in his address left out the vital element of budget transmission document, which was a problem in 2023.
We don't want what happened last year to be happening this year again. So we were waiting for him to ask for the government to respect the delays of transmission of the budget here in the parliament. We asked for the respect of the delays at least 2 weeks for them to transmit the document.
As the budgetary session opens, the MPs have varied expectations.
It's been that of roads. I keep saying there's roads all over the Republic. We hope that at the end of this budgetary session, much should be done in that domain.
We here as Member of Parliament are waiting for the President to come here with the project of modification of electoral code. There's no other way to go to free and fair election so as to keep peace in 2025 without modification of electoral code.
And talking about the 2025 presidential election, Kavayeyege Jibril reiterates that it is a sensitive year and Cameroonians must tread with caution. Important to recall that the key activity of the November session is to examine and adopt the 2025 state budget, as the lawmakers await the passage of members of government in plenary sittings of the hemicycle after the presentation of the proposed budget by the Prime Minister head of government.
Expectations great as far as 2025 is concerned. Elections year, high living standard, insecurity and more. Cameroonians living in Yaoundé are looking forward to see the envelopes of priority sectors such as road infrastructures huge.
Cameroon Parliament, as they are meeting, they have to allocate so much money for the roads in this country. The problem is that the money is insufficient.
State workers say their working condition needs to be looked into for better results.
The salaries of civil servants, they should make sure as everybody who is working, at least they should pay the person in time, so that at least there should be stability in our families, stability in companies, stability in our homes, and stability in the functioning of the state institutions. Allocation
to health facilities also on the list, as they want quality health care services. Try to motivate health personnel for work at public hospitals to be well organized. Needs for the budget allocated to the construction and modernization of health centers, hospital infrastructures to be considered. With the high rate of insecurity all over the national territory, an election in view, security also noted. Education not left out.
The educational sector is absolutely the backbone of our country, because it makes the youth to become great people tomorrow who shall rule Cameroon. So I think that we should invest a lot of money on education.
This November session of Parliament that has opened its door this 12 is dedicated to the examination and adoption of the new state budget. The minds of the population who wants their representatives and lawmakers to vote a budget that carries these proposed priorities for their well-being.
You are welcome back. Honorable, I begin with you. The session is on. How is it unfolding?
Very fully, because it's true that the major activities during this session will be the examination and the voting of our budget. But we usually also have to examine ordinary law.
Yeah.
So until now we have 12 projects of law to examine. 12. I think it is more comparing to the last session.
Yeah.
So I can say that it will be the session, the full one, looking for the numerous activities that we have to do. So until now, there's no major problem. We are working. Commission, I think foreign commission is working, examining many 4 law projects, and from Monday and Thursday, the Commission of Constitutional Law will enter in activities to examine what we say one of the major law that we have. It is a law concerning civil protection in our country. And others.
Which is a real issue.
It is a real issue, though we think that the session will be one of the most full one.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, we hope so, and we equally hope that it will be void of irregularities, like I saw you hammering on one report there, that the budget document needs to be transmitted on time.
This is a problem, because our viewers should know, that our Constitution and the law ask government to send document concerning budget 15 days before the opening date of the session. Every time they didn't respect it. And after not respect this delay, they usually wait the few last days to come out with the document in the parliament. And not to leave time for us to examine it fully. It is not possible. It is not acceptable. We cannot continue to do so, because we are population representative. When we come to budget session, we come with the population problem, and we need to know that those problems has been taken in consideration in the budget provision. We cannot do it when government didn't give us a lot of time, enough time to do so. So that is why I was calling for them, for this time, to give us at least 2 weeks, at least 2 weeks to do so. But last year, it was only 6 days.
Though Bertrand, lawmakers violating the law, that should not be good news for...
It is not something that is new. I'm happy that our Honorable is raising the issue. I think that is something that has been systematic. It's been systemic, and it's been going on and on. And every year, lawmakers, especially those who have interest in even reading through the document, complain. We have members of parliament like Kabalibi, OC Joshua, and the rest who always come up to complain. Like I said, law number 2007/006 of December 26, 2007 states clearly that the finance bill has to be submitted to the lawmakers 15 days to the start of session.
Which means I was supposed to be submitted by the end of October.
It is a very voluminous document. They have to read through, carefully peruse what the government is proposing for the next fiscal year, and then see where they can make inputs and where they think that some legislations or issues related to taxes and things like this are not okay. They have to come up. But every year it is not respected. And this is why our lawmakers have no option but to clap through the finance bill. Like he said, last year was submitted a week to the close of session. A document that was supposed to be submitted 2 weeks before, but was rather submitted barely a week to the close of session. And that is why lawmakers even blocked the PM when he wanted to present government's economic and social policy for the year from talking, because they believe that it is the document he's presenting to Parliament, it's an idea of what the finance bill is supposed to be, which means and it is the same thing that is happening this year. So we think that for a lawmaking institution should not be working in partial illegality, should not be violating the laws that they themselves have voted. So we think this is an issue where the government bench needs to resolve. It is not as if the document is not prepared. The document is already ready because the head of state had already given orientation. Are you saying that it's kind
of intentional?
It is intentional because the document is very voluminous, and like they say, the devil is in details. And if you cannot read through, you cannot see some of the things that government is proposing. So we think that it is an intentional act, and government needs to step up in order to respect the laws in an institution that is supposed to be voting laws.
Thank you so much. Godfrey, I don't want us to maybe overdwell on this. I want us to do a kind of retrospect with the 2024 budget, where priorities were on areas of infrastructure, education, health, water, agriculture, employment, and decentralization. Your first time taking the mic, I would like you to dwell on infrastructure. How would you evaluate the evolution of infrastructure in Cameroon during this financial year?
Yes, I think the 2024, the year that is just ending, Cameroon have had a lot of amelioration in terms of transport, route construction, infrastructure concerning routes and all the rest. Because when you look at the constructions of routes, Cameroon have passed to, this year they had to construct 870 kilometers of the route. So, which is very, very important, because you know that Cameroon is a country where the sector of agriculture need we
need farm to market routes.
Farm to market routes, and for that reason, those routes are very helpful, because you know at this level, as we can see, because in the 2024 budget, they also lay emphasis in the agriculture and food security. And you know that all those, the agriculture and food security link with transport, because if you produce and you cannot transport, then it becomes a problem. And I think today, with the policy of the head of state, his vision is to make sure that Cameroon will not only produce to eat, but they will produce to also export. And if we want to talk about the health, at the level of health, you know, always those who want can travel again abroad today to look for specialists or hospitals. We have a good infrastructure as far as hospitals are concerned. You just need to go to Samilima, you will see hospitals there with very good and high technical equipment. And those hospitals are found in almost all the 10 regions in Cameroon. And when we talk about security, you discover that every day we have new elements that are recruited. And you see that even the President of National Assembly tried to bring up that issue, that 2025 is going to be an electoral year, and they have to emphasize in the security
Okay, I'll be coming back with you. Ernest AKOUFOU, I'll begin with you with the sectors of education, health, and water. Do you feel the significant increase, evolution, significant change in 2024 as compared to the other years?
Well, Hyncenth, thank you. I think those domains you've mentioned, there is a slight amelioration. Slight amelioration in the fact that let's begin with the health sector.
He says it is a choice for somebody to go out of the country
today. He has a right to his opinion, right? He has a right to his opinion. I want to think that these health sectors, the referral hospitals, are just referral in appellation. Because if you get, we are in Yaoundé, I don't know why he left Yaoundé and went right to Samilima. I know the referral hospital in Samilima, I've been there. The infrastructure is there. But are the services there? Let's come back to Yaoundé. When you get to the general hospital in Yaoundé, do you get the adequate response to the ailment you have? No, I don't think so. When you get there, the machines there are outdated. Yes, I'm not talking like want to pull down or drag down something, because you know, science and technology is evolutive. But when we get to the general hospital in Yaoundé, we begin to get machines which were in the year put there in the year 2000, they don't meet the health expectations of the people at the time. Not to talk of the staff. At the staff, up to level, that's one thing. When you talk about the social infrastructure, I want to say, you see me looking for the words to put there. I don't want to put a very hard word there. I'll say it leaves much to be desired. Much to be desired in the sense that when you look at the road infrastructure, I want to take a simple example between the two major cities in Yaoundé, in Cameroon, Yaoundé, Douala, or vice versa. It's hell. Last 2-3 weeks or so, the Delegate General for National Security had to travel via that road, I think for the first time, because he usually traveled through helicopter. So when he had to go through that road for the first time, maybe in 20 years, he discovered a nightmare, and he had to castigate the minister in charge of that domain. So when you hear all of that, and then you see people begin to proud themselves that it's all funky and all the like, I think it's not good. And then talk of education. Well, there are strides in that domain. Minister Nalova in the secondary education is trying to do her utmost, but there is still much to be desired. Just of recent, we heard some school administrators were booted because of unorthodox practices. So it's not only that, but do we have adequate infrastructure to accommodate our children? Do we have adequate educational programs for these children? Do we have the enabling environment for these children to study? Do we have the teachers? The teachers have been crying. On a trop souffert, on a trop attendu.
But we didn't see that much this year, the OTS.
Well, the OTS or whatever you want to call them, I don't want to make cheap propaganda for that. You see, they were given promises and they're still hanging on to those promises. It's not like promises shall never be fulfilled, but I just hope that let the promises be fulfilled, because it is too consequential on our children. When they get there and the teachers are present but not teaching. The important thing is not the physical presence. Do they effectively do the teaching? Is the worrying problem.
Okay, thank you so much. Doc, let's look at the area of agriculture and unemployment. Can we hit our chest this year, 2024, that we have taken a step forward?
Well, I think that policy-wise, the government came up with many policies to promote agricultural development, and it takes time. It's a process. I mean, we are actually following an economic catch-up strategy. Things we were supposed to do a long time ago, we need to do them. Some of the farm-to-market roads are still to be completed. Some of the state organizations and structures, such as the MADGENI, the UNVDA, that are supposed to create farm-to-market roads, have not been capitalized as was promised. But we think that policy-wise, they are there. On the field, of course, the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development are struggling to make sure that the right seeds gets to the beneficiaries. And we are facing another challenge, which is the climate change. I think we didn't take into consideration the impact of climate change that has reduced crop yield production. And that's why it is a little bit daunting. We also saw the introduction of the project, the African Development Bank projects, Yoko, Bachenga, Yoko, Wasande, North. They call it the Plain Central, but that's a project for 15 years. It's not a project for 2 days. And so we need to come up with quick wins. So I think that it is a process. The budget is being consumed. And again, talking about the agricultural sectors and employment, people are now looking at self-employment. The entrepreneurship is now coming in, but decent jobs still needs to be encouraged.
Thank you so much. Bertrand, before I get back to Honorable, let's have a view on the decentralization process, because we saw as one of the priorities, they said they wanted to fast-track the process of decentralization. As a reporter, how will you rate the progress?
I think a little bit of progress has been made, but I think that in 2025 it's going to be better, especially with a bill already in Parliament related to local taxation, which is going to be something that will boost the economy of various municipalities, because it clearly defines who collects what, when, and how in relation to land tax and other areas where maybe companies are operating. I think last year we saw the Minister of Decentralization and Local Development, Josh Elangobam, on his feet, alongside the Council Support Fund for Mutual Assistance, inaugurating several facilities that have been erected in different municipalities. That shows a move. But as far as decentralization is concerned, the effective devolution of resources and power to municipalities are not being felt. Honorable can talk more about it. The 15% which Parliament talked about in 2019 is still not being filled. Yeah. I think there are very few ministries that have effectively decentralized part of their resources, like the Ministry of Public Works that I think sends close to 27 million francs to every council every year to see how they can handle issues related to roadworks and things like that. But we know how that those kind of finances have been handled in the country. I think we need to, like the PM used to chair I think the decentralization board meeting. Yeah. The text of application on some of the things need to be put in place for decentralization should concretely be fair, because this is something that was talked about in the 1996 constitution, and then we are coming close to 30 years after. We are still struggling to implement it. It just shows, you know, the feet dragging that we have in implementing our policies. We have very good laws, but implementing them is usually the issue.
Usually the issue. This week we equally witnessed the mayor of Ngumo trying to...
he was lashing out on issues.
Lashing out on...
and I think the minister...
the minister in return lectured him on some...
On some of the key issues. I think municipal authorities too should be able to read and understand where the competencies are. Because even the bill, which is I'm talking about, which is already passed and MPs are going to look on, the bill on local taxation. I think the president of United Councils and Cities of Cameroon, UCCC, Augustine Tamba, even sent out a communique informing all mayors that this is what we have advocated, and the head of state has given his accord, and it has been tabled in Parliament. I think why MPs are deliberating on it, the municipal authorities should see how they can read that line by line, and you see where the competencies are. Even the 2019 text on decentralization, the decentralization law, many municipal authorities do not know where they pass, and this is where they start having this conflict of interest with even municipalities that have, or towns that have city councils and things like this. So I think our authorities should have a grasp of the law in order to know where to better deliver.
Thank you so much. Honorable, like one of those who voted the laws, in the budget in 2024, you voted in 2023 session November. How would you evaluate the implementation, if not for the whole country, maybe for your constituency?
Let's say the main challenge concerning decentralization is the allocation of 50%.
15%?
15%, yes. 15% of our own resources. The president is very well, because it's not 15% of the whole budget. You have foreign resources, the resources that we go to finance projects. When they talk about 15%, it's 15% of our own resources from the budget should be allocated to decentralized authorities. We are now, let's say, at let's say, only 3%. Only 3% of that. So we are too far from that objective. And it is that we cannot develop, we cannot work to increase the living condition of our population without allocating resources to local authorities. Because it is those local authorities that work day to day with population, directly with the population. We cannot understand why government didn't want to totally implement the decentralization project. When they come with the project, every year we will see, maybe this year it will be the same thing. They will come with the objective like, we should we should accelerate the implementation of decentralization. This is not an objective. It's not an objective. Why you come and say we will accelerate? The accelerating, we will accelerate from which level to what other level. We must be very precise. We cannot continue, let's say, 26 years before the Constitution of 1996.
26 years after.
Talking again about implementation, accelerating the implementation is not normal.
It doesn't really sound well.
It doesn't make sense.
Hyncenth, just to indicate that we should not get carried away with maybe what government has realized, partially in 2024, because we, like my CPDM brother said, I think we are with a system that tries to play smart with the minds of Cameroonians.
What do you mean
projects
by that?
that were promised at the start of this current mandate are projects that have not been realized, and government is struggling to bring out the projects because we are on the eve of an election year in order to blindfold Cameroonians. Let me just cite some few. When we talk about the ring road, we see a lot of noise being made about the ring road now, pictures flying all over the social media and media platforms. The ring road project was not started today. Why are we hurrying to realize the ring road project now? The Bamenja Babaju road project that has been dragging, we are struggling to fast track. When you even look at the recent inauguration of the Papis project that partially even supplies water to Yaoundé, not completely. If you look at electricity projects, these are things that have been promised and not realized. But government is struggling to bring them out now because we are on the eve of an election year. Even look at the Douala Yaoundé Expressway. The minister recently went there, and we see that some deals have been signed for the continuation of the second phase. If you look at the east entrance to Douala, we are not talking about the completion of it. I think we should not be fooled. Government, these are projects that are not part of the 2024 state budget. Okay. These are projects that are long been existing, but government is struggling to realize them now. Even electricity projects, and it is just because they are trying to play smart with the minds of Cameroonians. I think we need to get serious. We don't need to realize social projects that will better the living conditions of our citizens because we are on the eve of an election year.
Okay, Honorable, I'll just give you the mic again to learn on what you were saying.
Yeah, I was saying that government should be more realistic, more objective, and work to for the population. They should stop to work for themselves. And that's why we ask to government to reduce the number of ministry, and then accept that the problem of our population should not be very well solved by the ministry. It will be solved by mayor. It should be solved by regional council, because they are very in proximity of the population, and they work daily, day to day with the population. You cannot stay in Yaoundé and know very well what is the problem of my population in Bangoren and be able to go and solve it efficiently. It is not possible. If you do not accept decentralization, maybe we will have very uncontrollable consequences to that.
Okay. Ernest AKOUFOU, I see you itching to react. Maybe let me just give you the mic before I get to
I want to go in consonance with what the MP is saying, because you see, projects earmarked for the development of a country should not be politicized. Yes, it is the right of citizens in all localities in the nation to get development projects in their country. But when you want to tie them to a political program, it doesn't work. Now we're talking about local taxation. You see, there can never be taxation without representation. Yeah, because if you tax people and they are not represented, what do I mean by that? If you want to tax the local population, let's say, take my constituency, like Santa, for example. If you go to the people of Santa subdivision in the Northwest region and you want to tax them for a project and which the money will be managed from Yaoundé, it doesn't make sense. The money should be raised, managed by the people, by the mayor of Santa in collaboration with the local authorities there. But another thing too is the law brings in appointed administrative officials. Does that tie down? Because those appointed administrative officials are the bottlenecks in the implementation of what's supposed to happen. Honorable was talking about only 3% of decentralization, effective decentralization. Yeah. How do we expect that to work? It can't work. Yet we need development. We are talking about Vision 2035. That Cameroon will be an emerging economy by 2035. Yes. Mind you, we don't declare development, we work for development.
It's a process,
yes,
not an event.
At the eve of 2034, you will not, on the 31st of December 2034, you will not say, tomorrow the 1st of December, January 2035, Cameroon is development. You don't say that. We should feel it.
Okay. Doc, how do we curb this? Because DOH Bertrand was talking here. How do we curb this sickness of abandoned projects in Cameroon?
Well, I think that we have to understand that project implementation has different phases. First of all, some of these projects were not matured, and some of these projects were not matured, they were not well prepared, and the implementation of these projects were not well followed. We have to understand that we are in a tender-driven economy where most of the projects, where the state itself is the highest, let's say, suppliers of projects. And this tender-driven economy has its own procedure, which is beyond sound economic principles. It has its own principles. And once the budgets are delayed, like some of if the budget were delayed and the treasury delays the disbursement, then it creates a delay in the process. That is why I think the Honorable DIVERTISSEMENT actually said that it's very important for us to remove some of the bottlenecks, because this bottlenecks itself kills the whole implementation process. He spoke about mismanagement of funds, corruptions, and other bottlenecks. And he says that it's not about passing this budget or validating some of these projects. The issue is the proper implementation of this project. And that is why the World Bank itself, analyzing 2023 budget execution process, says that good projects, but the execution rate were below, but better than 2022. So I think that the preparations, the selections of the executive team, and again, a plan C. We have plan A, plan B, no plan C. That is why the budget program is a necessary but not sufficient condition to make sure that we fast track. That's why a budget program has to be complemented with results-based programming. So if there is no result, then the budgeting makes no sense. So we need to figure out how to bring in two systems. One is the budget-based program and results-based program.
I think adding to that, Doctor, often when we get into maybe voting a new budget, reports of the former are not presented to the people. Okay, last year we allocated maybe 1 billion to this ministry to realize this project. Were the projects realized?
So I think there's always a balance sheet.
No, there's something. Yes. Hyncenth, okay, I will come. Let me come. I want just to give a point that it could help. You know, you have countries like Germany. If budget are given to a ministry, if it's not executed next year, your budget cannot go beyond. You reduce it. So if we put this disincentive, then we encourage people to realize those projects. If you say, anyway, if you do not realize it and you get an amount equivalent or more than what you got last year, then people will still feel like, okay, we'll still get it. If you say, this is a budget you budgeted for this year, and if you do not execute it, what you executed will be given to you. Okay. Then you will give now a new incentive for the government and the different apparatus to do their job.
Okay, Godfrey, talking about project realization, we saw the Minister of Public Works fire some contractors who were unable to deliver what they were supposed to do on time. Don't you think that should cut across the different ministries where people will implement methods of follow-up to see that what is given to contractors be realized on time?
Yes, before coming to your question, I wanted to remind us, AKOUFOU and the others, that we have an MP. And I think what we are saying here is just, maybe we can say is precipitation or what our own view of the thing. Because I think during this section, all the ministers, they have the section, there is a program where ministers will pass and present what they have done, and they ask questions. So what we are saying here is what have ever been done, and it is, maybe we are still in the beginning of the section, and during that period, you people will be well informed. As AKOUFOU rightly said here, that sometimes he is not seeing how tax should be collected in a village, and those taxes are going to be managed by other areas, are going to be centralized.
To be managed from Yaoundé.
From Yaoundé. So I just wanted to make him understand. I know he knows exactly what he's saying, but just that you don't want to be very clear, to say that there are areas, when they talk about collection of taxes, if you go there, you have nothing to collect. And those areas are supposed to have schools, they're supposed to have root infrastructures and all the rest, which simply means that it's the tax collected from some other areas that will help. Because it is not because in my area we have nothing that can be taxed, that
So are you trying to say that
no,
some areas are supposed to complement
yes,
others?
Exactly.
Obviously,
because
just a second. Because we have what the French call l'unicité des caisses, uniqueness of our treasury. Yeah, because fellow which all of what has been happening in the 2 English-speaking regions in Cameroon, they will not have funds to run those regions. But funds now come from other regions to manage those regions. That's what the French call unicité des caisses. Because you don't say if you don't collect funds from your region, the region will fall. No, it doesn't work that way.
No, but it was just to compliment on what you have been
try
saying.
to learn.
So you asked a question that some of the Minister of Public Work have to fire some contractors who were not able to realize the project or to deliver the project on time. I think if you get back and listen to the Minister of Finance when he was trying to release the budget of 2024, he called on stakeholders and other ministerial departments to work to manage the budget as a family issue. The family issue, you know, it simply means that when you are doing it, do it as if it was your project. And consider the person to whom you are doing, that's the Cameroon population, as your people, and don't mismanage. And when you see those type of contractors who have been fired by the minister, are those who, at certain level, when they are given a project, they tend maybe to take people, or the feasibility studies are not well done. And at the level of execution now, there is a problem. And you know that those things, they have some time. There is a time frame. And that is why you see that some projects have to be carried forward. Even though they were saying that they don't support, if a route was supposed to be constructed, and if that have not been done,
is it not?
I think
is it not logical that a project should be carried forward with the funds as well?
But it is logical. But if they are,
in most cases, only projects are carried forward, and then the funds
are not carried forward.
Okay.
But I think let me. There is something here that we have to understand. Maybe we have to make our televiewers to understand also that when you talk about budget, it's not money that was kept somewhere. It's money that have to be collected, generated.
Yes.
And when we are talking about budget and money, that is, it seems as there is some monies that was given. When they say there is a route to be constructed, immediately there is money that was disbursed for that.
Okay, thank you so
much.
much.
There is another problem at the level of mobilization of funds.
Honorable, maybe apart from waiting for those in charge of projects to appear at the National Assembly and you question them there, what are other mechanisms of follow-up that you guys implement in your different constituencies?
Before that, I wanted to know that Doctor was saying something concerning the reason why projects are not realized. I'm okay with him, with the whole reason, but the one thing is that he said the maturation, maybe the lack of maturation of project is one of the reasons. I want to make sure, to make him sure that when you see any project budgetized, when a project cannot be in the budget without any project that has been budgetized is already mature.
Okay.
The reason to not realize the project in the field is all what he was saying, but the main reason is the complexity of the procedure. We have administrative procedure, they are very, very complex. And concerning the mobilization of resources, of funds. Yeah. Maybe it can be one of the reasons, but when you look at the procedure to obtain the realization of a project in our country, the operator should make sure that he has financial capacity. Financial capacity. The financial capacity is one of the basic documents that should be asked before giving you
a contract.
And they ask for the technical capacity and material capacity. There's no reason for an operator that win a project not to realize it because there's not fund for government to give. I am from Bangoren, and it is now maybe, let's say, 5 years that the road from Fumban to Jakiri was supposed to be built in 3 years.
Okay.
36 months. And we are now 5 years after the road. The current situation of the road is worse
than it was before the contract was awarded.
Okay. Is it not acceptable?
Because I like what the MP has just said. The financial and technical capacity of a contractor who wins a contract. And this is where the problem is, because our system is such that state authorities are even awarding contracts to themselves and to their friends who do not have that financial and technical capacity. Because we have, the system is such that you even realize a project and then you start following up at the level of the treasury for your bills to be paid. And if you don't have the financial capacity, you can, if you don't have the financial capacity, you cannot be able to realize the project. And if you don't have the technical capacity, we have road projects where people, we know of a minister who went and hired some few whites from an African country and they came here and they started selling water to us. So this is what we are saying. Many state authorities are awarding contracts to people who are close to them, people who are not competent to deliver because of the closeness that they have. Okay. And this is what is blocking development in the country.
Ernest AKOUFOU 2025 budget, what should be the key areas of priority as the MPs await to adopt this budget
the priority
by the end of
areas,
the November session?
The priority areas are may and varied. 2025 is an election year, and we know elections cost a lot of money. I think in 2018 there were about 2-3 elections which were organized, and that cost ELECAM the tune of almost 90 billion francs. Yes, if I'm not mistaken, I stand to be corrected.
Yeah, those are figures to be verified.
Yes, I stand to be corrected. You see, you have elections which are costly, especially presidential elections, because elsewhere they are managed with hundreds of billions. We want to talk about the health sector too, which the Right Honorable Kavaye did talk about. We want to talk about the social infrastructure. Yes, because we're talking about the climate change. We have to manage all of these things. And talking about education too. Do we have infrastructure to accommodate our children there? And then in a nutshell, we'll have to talk about civil protection. It's very important. The Department of Civil Protection at the Ministry of Territorial Administration is invisible. That must be said.
Don't you see them during different catastrophes?
No, please. Seeing them, it's not important seeing them that they tell us that these are the people from the Department of Civil Protection at the Ministry of Territorial Administration. That is not sufficient. Okay. We want to see action because they have money.
Okay.
Billions.
Well, our system should adopt a way where you should look for ways to prevent natural disasters
and not solve natural disasters.
Solving is very expensive.
So, as he's rightly saying, much money should be pumped into that milieu because of climatic change. And I think, I very well think that they should be, seeing the world is evolving and we see this climatic change coming. A department should be created or a ministry in charge of that, because if people are still stuck in the rubble in Chang.
People are saying that there are many ministries. You want another ministry to be created?
There are many ministries which are repugnant, which don't have anything to do. Okay. They are duplicated, whereas the real ministries are not in existence. Okay. Yeah, because if the Department of Civil Protection could be made a Ministry of Civil Protection, what does that mean? It involves a lot of things. But they are hiding down there, and we just see things happening, and then they come off. They just manage to do the small things they're supposed to do, which is not well. I think 2025 state budget, there are a lot of things to be done. And not forgetting about the rate of inflation, which is high. Cameroonians are suffering. They need to live a free life. Cameroon is a rich country. The natural resources are there. Why should Cameroonians suffer?
Okay, thank you. So you just made mention of inflation. Doc, how do we craft the budget in a way it will address inflation, unemployment, and then boost economic growth?
Yeah, you know, the first thing is to build the fundamentals that actually support economic growth, which is the private sector development. I mean, our economy has been expenditure driven for the past 30, 40, 50 years. We have to build the right infrastructures. We need to bring in entrepreneurship training. You know, there's something that is found in our vision, our National Development Strategy 2020-2030, which is national champion. 12 times, if you look at that document, approximately 12 times, it appears. How do we build this national champion? We need to make sure that we identify them at the local level, at the regional level, and at the country level, national level, and the sub-regional level. We need to make sure that we use proximity support system to create those conditions. Job, job, job. And job can only be created if we make sure that the thousands and hundreds of thousands of young people that graduate can find opportunities. We need to, the second thing which we have to do is to make sure we create security. I mean, you know, the tourism industry fetch in high currency, and research has proven that they attract more foreign direct investors than any other sector. So we need to make sure that the challenges that we have in the northwest and southwest regions, we create appropriate conditions. In the northern part of the countries, we have to make sure, thank God it is being dealt with, and we hope that we need to pump in a lot of resources to create infrastructure and job opportunities in those regions. So last but not the least, we need to make sure that the energy supply comes in. We are now in the knowledge economy where digitalization plays a vital role. If you do not have energy, we have a problem. And look, Hyncenth, there is something that is happening. We are looking at our national economy as if it's our own cake. But we already signed a lot of agreement with the African Continental Free Trade that within the next few years, goods and services at competitive prices will get into our country. So it is a high priority for us to make sure that we improve the investment climate, cut out corruptions and bottlenecks, and then we now put a new agency to follow up the implementation of priority projects, an independent cross-ministerial, and again, let's say, multi-party group that has to foresee that this priority that concerns the nations are implemented.
And Godfrey, to do all this, we need to fight corruption and leakages. How do we fight that? To make sure that the beautiful budget, state budget that will be presented to the MPs in the days ahead will have an effect on the people of Cameroon.
I think when you talk about the fighting of corruption, that's one of the priority as far as the state budget was concerned last year and even this year again. And you know, when we talk about fighting of corruption, I think the first thing to say is Cameroonians are supposed to be responsible. When you have been called up to manage a state budget, you have to understand that you have lives of people in your hand, and when you are doing it, when you take a franc that was supposed to go maybe for the health department and all the rest, and you are consuming it for another issue, you can imagine how many people you are killing. So I think it calls for the responsibility for those who have that opportunity to manage. Another thing is denunciation. I think if you want to fight corruption, most of the time there must be somebody who is corrupted and a corrupter. And the person,
it takes two or more.
Yes, and the person who corrupts is the person who is encouraging the one who is corrupt, they corrupt us. So I think all those things.
These are rhetorics that.
Let
me just make a point, Hyncenth. We need to clarify Cameroonians. These are rhetorics that people who belong to the ruling party have been churning out. It has to be clear. We need to add what we have now. It's a bottom-top approach. We need to adopt a top-bottom approach to fight corruption. One, the Constitution talks about declaration of assets. Those who are managing state institutions, public officers need to declare their assets. That is where it starts. And then the Constitution provides for the head of state to even appoint members of a committee that will investigate for declaration of assets. The committee has not. So what I'm trying to say is we need the political will to be able to fight corruption. We cannot keep pretending about this. There must be a political will, and that political will has to be manifested by the head of state by putting in place a commission that will, for people to be declaring the asset when they're taking public offices. Because if you come in, you're earning less than 200,000 francs, and in 1 year you're building a skyscraper, your funds have to be investigated. Canal has been doing its efforts to sensitize, denounce, and the rest, but the cankerworm is eating.
Let me just ask. Let me just ask you this.
We need a political will.
Let me just ask you this. 2025 is an electoral year. Do you see the elections affecting the implementation of this state budget that we are projecting here?
Of course, it will be affected because we are in a system where once you hold public office, you are indirectly a subset of the party, of the ruling party. You cannot belong. And we are going to have more public office holders running to their various municipalities to start campaigning for the ruling party when they are supposed to be, rendering services to Cameroonians. So I think it's going to be affected. But I think based on the budgetary orientation that was given through the presidential circular by the head of state when he came back, he has outlined the key areas. We are trying to, he termed it socio-economic impact budget, where he wants to consolidate the SND 30 program, which is still taking a snail piece. And then he's talking about adding more finances to agricultural sector, the industrial sector development. And if our industrial sector is booming, employment comes in. And then he has also talked about, endogenous and exogenous shocks. We are operating in the context of security, and then other global developments are also affecting us. So I think he has given his orientation. What is left is for his foot soldiers to implement
take the chain.
Unfortunately.
Honorable, we are gradually moving. Our time is not on our side. Apart from the budget, are there other expectations you, like the opposition MP, would like maybe to see by the end of the budgetary session?
Yes. The first thing we are expecting is that the logic of reducing operating budget in favor of investment budget should be maintained. Because for us, it's only with investment that the state improves the living condition of the population. In our country, we look the privatized functioning operating budget. And because that's the way they will go to make this correction and serve themselves with the resources. So for us, it's the first challenge. The first challenge is to maintain this reduction. The second one is that we will be able to identify the domain, the main domain that should be able to improve economic growth. For that, I think about Ministry of Agriculture, because it will be with the agriculture that we will fight against high cost of living. With
the import substitution policy.
Yes, we should implement it.
Thank you, Honorable.
So
we don't have much time.
There's many things to say, but
less than 10 seconds, Doc. Just your last word, please.
Yes, I think that the lawmakers should take it serious. Our country will be facing competition from other countries, and they need to make sure that, as he rightly said, there should be a paradigm shift from operation budget to investment budget.
ERNEST AKOUFOU, just 5 seconds.
I think the 2025 state budget should be more of investment rather than, because I know, as Dr. Riley said at the beginning, the private sector is that which generates income, but
you.
the public sector is the consuming sector.
Thank you, Godfrey. You have the last word of this program.
Yes, I think the 2025 budget, we have to emphasize is exactly as they said on the investment budget and also the security, and as far as security, depending on the agriculture and food security and all the rest.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming. If you missed out on anything, the rebroadcast of this program is on Wednesday at 11 p.m. Until we meet again next Saturday, stay blessed and stay safe. Bye-bye.